Okay, so we've got a really nice summer cocktail to do, which is a little bit of fun as we are slipping into summer. So this will lead on nicely, from other glasswork and things like that. So that's great. So I think we've done bubbles recently, where we've got reflections and colours refracted in it, and light bulbs. So again, this is just taking it a little bit step further, and we can really practice some of the skills and things that we've learned in those. So it's great. So I've gone for like a colour background. I've gone for an orangey colour, but you can pretty much work in whatever you like. Use it to enhance some of the colours or not. It's entirely up to you. But I do know that with this, there's quite a lot going on in it. So you may well like the other glass that's more background, so you could tend to put more background on first. With this, I'm just going to sketch out that glass shape. And if you just grab a pencil or a pastel pencil, or pastel that's just maybe 1 or 2 shades lighter or darker than your paper. I'll go of course much brighter so you can see it. Let's have a little look. So I'll go with an orange one. So I mean, this one is actually fairly straightforward because proportionally it takes up quite a lot, doesn't it, of the actual picture. I suppose one of the things we can be mindful of is the shape of the ellipsis, the curve on each of these, which is actually quite, it's not very deep at all, the curve on here, whereas the other ones like the wine glass and things like that, it's much deeper. So if you just have a little look at, imagine there's a straight line going across the ellipsis. I mean, it's a bit deeper here. You see it how, it comes below. If we put that line across, it comes just below, but it's not a really deep ellipsis, is it? It's not a really deep curve. So that's really handy to get those kinds of curves in place. The top one, it almost looks as though it's been taken at eye level, does that, to be fair. So we're observing the ellipsis. That's one of the things we're doing. And then obviously just making sure that we're, working out how deep the glass and everything is and how far up it starts on your page. Let's have a look. So yeah, so just mapping this out. And again, with the curve, sometimes you get the curve is slightly different in different places just because of the angle it's being taken or whatever. But if you've got a perfectly symmetrical one, then you can always draw a little line, a really light coloured line down the middle of your page, and then kind of like try and make it symmetrical either side, but you don't have to. So I'm just going to put that mark out actually and pop it up here a bit, move it up slightly. So let's see, that curve, does it come up a lot, this curve? No, it's really almost flat, which is surprising, isn't it, sometimes when you look at these. However, it looks like it's got more of a curve because it's the way it's the light colour of the strawberry is reflected in there. So I'm just going to get a nice loose, see how far this goes on. So I'm just going to follow this curve in. Quite a curvy glass actually, isn't it? Just take that down. Yeah, definitely a bit, that one is a bit more narrow than this one. This one kind of comes out. It's definitely the angle that's been taken. Just bring that down and in. And then obviously we've got the lip at the bottom as well. You can always adapt it anyway. It's really not a big deal. I was saying today, like if you've hardly drawn glasses or vases or whatever, and it's going to take you several goes. If we were doing glasses for 6 weeks, we'd all be experts in them. So it doesn't matter too much if you're slightly out with it. It's just treat it as a sketch. So we're just following this ellipsis here around. I brought mine down a little bit further to the bottom. And then again, you can just double check. I might just check how far down that comes. So I'll pop it on there. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on in these, and a lot of what we're doing with glasses is just pure observation, really. And then we've got these other strips of colour, and I'm going to pop those in because actually it really helps with this to get those different strips of colour in there. And I'm going to bring that comes, notice that comes up a little bit further before it goes out here. I've kind of brought it out straight away. So I'm just rubbing the edge of that out because it's not really dark colour. Same on here. I'm just going to bring this leg up a little bit. There we go. So yeah, so I've got this other little ellipsis here. And then how the back of the glass is reflected over there is so interesting. So I'm going to pop that in as well. There's all sorts going on at the side of this glass. It's fascinating. So a lot of this that's undercover you can't actually see under there. And we might as well get that leaf shape in as well. When you look at it, really, it comes both flats and quarters here. That leaf's taking quite a big proportion up, isn't it, of the quarter. So let's see, it starts kind of just about here, comes all the way up, and get those curves in for the leaf while we're doing it. But again, we can always adapt it, so it's not a big deal at all. I'm just popping a little vein in there. Sometimes it helps a little bit. And then, there's a few more lovely mint sprigs of mint there, isn't there? Coming over the top. I can't actually see what's going on underneath that, but pop that one in there. Comes off the page. And it comes down the side of the glass. Over. Okay, so then we've just got the top edge, haven't we, here coming in. There's like almost top of the fruit just poking over there. Top of the strawberry. Underneath before it comes over there. Bit distorted. Bringing the edge slightly in there. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, again, we're thinking about the way things overlap. And so whatever we're doing, we're going back, aren't we, first to look at what's behind. And I'm just going to use that colour background to come through because I quite like it. I might just put a little bit, make this table at the bottom a little bit lighter there. Before I start sketching the fruit and things in. So it's a little look of tables about here. But I think I will go in with a nice contrasting light colour for that as well. So I'm going to pop that in first. I'll bring it up to the edge a little bit, but because it's a nice solid shape, I don't really need to worry too much about that. And this top area I'm just going to have as the actual paper. There we go. Get some colours down. You can always adapt them later. Plus that bottom line as well over the top of that colour. The biggest thing, obviously is trying to keep colours from getting muddy, particularly because we're overlapping. But when you've got oranges and reds and things, they're fairly a similar tone, so it's not too bad actually, really. We're getting a lovely reflection on this table surface, aren't we, as well here? I'm just going to get that under this side. I'm going to put these reflections on last once I've got everything else, all the colours in this done. But yeah, I mean, really, I think a lot of it is thinking about best fit as well, because some of the colours and things, and what we've got to think about is like obviously these are brighter as they're in here, but everything's just diffused that little bit with the colours in the cup. I think that one looks like pins, doesn't it? It looks really nice. So, just overlapping these colours. So I'm going to get all of these in. I'm not actually going to work on the actual glasswork, like the bottom, until I've kind of just got some of these basic colours in, and then we'll get that glasswork over the top and think about, how we can create some of these bubbles that are squashed against over the top of the strawberry. So we can afford to make those a little bit fuzzier before we do it. So look at some of these browns and yellows, a bit muted. And again, testing is going to be quite important. That's quite warm. It looks a bit like ochre or something. That's going to be too warm. Oh, maybe it's all right at the bottom actually. I like that at the bottom here. And then a greyish colour there. But it's really interesting what you can see, isn't it, when you start looking at these? What kinds of colours? It's probably a bit dark actually. Have that one. And this one. So yeah, I've got it's just testing, isn't it? Testing the colours that you've got just to see which is a good match. So I'm just literally working these bands, but ignore completely the flash of light on the actual glass work itself until very last. That goes right over the top. So it's really quite a good one to do this because there's a lot of really good patches, is what I'd say. Yeah, really good patches. And again, even these ones at the bottom, they're kind of like earthy tones, aren't they? Even the browns and things. So unless we're just really over mixing, we're not going to keep them fairly straight and getting too muddy by, we don't want to over mix them. But they're fairly similar tones. So yeah, so having a good mix in there. I think I'm going to bring in actually a few a bit of pencil work, as I said, because it's quite small. And again, we're just looking at the shapes that these reflections at the bottom of the glass make. We don't want too much of a harsh line there, do we? And you can, if there's other areas on it, if you want to lighten up your colours or whatever, that's absolutely fine, And layer up a couple of colours on because it's quite dark sometimes. just pop this over the top. And again, just a nice light touch. I don't want to get all these colours muddied together, but I can see that, you know, they're maybe a bit lighter than I started with there. It'll all look very patchy anyway, until we get the glasswork over the top. It feels a bit like you can't really get a sense of the fact it's a glass until we actually put the glass in, but that's fine. As long as we expect it, it's okay. I'm just bringing this down a little bit more. Move those tones in. When you start to really look, there's all sorts in there. You know, even between the little layers, there's some different colours, isn't there? Slightly warmer ones, slightly cooler ones. So this is like where, because I've got a small piece of paper and I'm struggling to get like exactly where I want with the edge of the pastel, we can just use our little blending tip to move it, you know, just kind of push it into the areas that we want, which is nice and helpful. And there's kind of a greyish tinge or a bluish tinge in there, not quite sure which. But we'll all be seeing these as different colours, which is good. That one. And then we've got these grey colours underneath here as well. I mean, you can, I did say today, and I do often say, if you're working, if you've got a really big piece of paper, then it's sometimes easy to work top down so you don't kind of scruff up the bottom. I think I've started here because it's such a small bit of paper, it's not going to make much difference whether I start top or bottom because it's all in the same space anyway. But yeah, if you're big, you can kind of work back downwards, but sometimes it doesn't matter. It's just you think, oh, I want to do that bit first, so then go for it. Okay, so I'm just looking for some colours up here a little bit before we put those strawberries on. Crossover of two colours, that one. Yeah, so we're just working out, aren't we? You know, how we can move those colours up as well to get the shade we want. And one of the things to observe is how far against the edge of the glass you get these shapes and shades. More often than not, when we actually look at them, they don't come all the way to the edge. So it's just thinking about, you know, how we observe those little bits and pieces. Okay. Definitely need my fingers wiped in between this one. So, you know, just looking at all these different layers and the shadows. So I think I'm going to try and replicate the shadows as well. Get the dark ones in, and then the lighter ones. So again, it's just finding a good match because That's quite bright. We might not have it an exact match of what we want. So, you know, do you have two shades you can layer up even, purpley colour and something like that. I can pick that one up, that's a burgundy. Oh, that's better. So maybe you have to use a red and another colour to kind of get the match that you want. So I'm just going to just start to map out where I think this strawberry is going to go. And even under there, you can see these like little colours you get underneath the strawberries on the top of the strawberry. So we're kind of looking behind it and we put those little highlights on after. And it's not even on the glass, is it that? There's all sorts of fabulous colours in here. So I'm just going to look at where I think this fits. Maybe start to pop in a few bits and pieces there. Can't even see, can you, in here where one starts and the other ends? It's okay, that comes right over there. It's almost like just squished in, isn't it, with the orange. I'm going to pop in just some of the other colours as well. Some of the things in there. A bit more. So I think that's cucumber. I think it probably is cucumber there, isn't it? I'll just match that one up. Yeah, it's almost squashed cucumber, isn't it? It's squashed down the side of the glass. It's really, really well packed in with all of this. And then we've got this orange peel here. Now this side, it tends to seem like it does come right up to the side, doesn't it? Whereas there, it's the colour is slightly differently shown. And then we've got this strawberry in here. We just want them to kind of fit neatly in, really, don't we? That's the thing. Nice how you get the shape of the strawberries, like squashed up, isn't it, against the glass? And then we've got this other big strawberry in here. And then out the top where we should see it coming out. I think my leaf needs to come a bit further over. I can see that now. Pop that on over the top roughly. And then we've got this lovely lemon orange segment, haven't we, in there between there. And you can just see kind of the skin of it curls up and round all the way to the top. I think actually it's a whole orange piece, isn't it? And that bit at the top is coming round, so it's a whole slice. Right, see a bit of segment there. If we can't, oh yes, we can see a little bit of segment there. Always kind of improvise a little bit. And then it almost looks like a really dark strawberry between there. I'm trying to ring this cucumber out a little bit, but right behind it's very dark, isn't it there? So I may even get some of those darker sections in first that I can see in the colours. Yeah, that's really interesting. And then there's obviously things squashed behind here as well. So that one is the edge of the orange peel, actually, isn't it? I haven't not brought that down fine. And that one, the orange peel goes, yeah, and the orange segments there. Right, so it's just now thinking, you know, what other colours we've got now. As I said, you know, if you can get your dark ones in, that's really helpful. What else have we got here? It's just deciding, isn't it, what dark colour you want to make it. I'm going to kind of go a really darkish purple, and I might make it darker with a pencil. I'm going to go in to start with that. Almost not burgundy now. I like to use two colours layered up if you're not sure. Oh, that's better. You can always try a couple of colours. I think I would actually be inclined to use a bit of brown in there as well to make it a little bit sink back even more, because around that little gap of strawberry in there, actually, it is quite dark. I think this one, yeah. So within this here, we're starting to see these shadows in. I'm going to go in with the brown actually in there. We can kind of make that even a bit more dull. I'll show you that. There's some darker bits around the side. I'm going to leave that for a minute though. Oh, I'll put that in. I'll put this like just this little dark area here. Seems I'm working on darks. I mean, you can just kind of build that colour up and build that area up on its own if you want to and work all the way through it. Just because I've got this colour out, I'm going to use it where else I can see it. And then there's one down the side of this glass here. Just gently put that in, or you could use it again, you know, if you wanted to kind of move it in, just bring your blending tip. Oh, I've got so I'm going to come back to this little area now and just look at where you get some slight lighting. So this is interesting because it's like, what colour are you going to choose to overlap it? So it's, because we don't want it to come forward, we don't want it to be really bright. I think it's bubbles. I think there are also some seeds in there, so I might go in with a very dark one to get the seeds in. Just so that there's a sense, and then around there, there we go, that's where we know it's a strawberry. It gives us a bit of an idea. And then we'll build up, I'm going to build up those bubbles on the top. So it's just a case of finding some more darkish colours to go in here. I'm going to go in with this much, again, this darker colour of red here. Probably still a bit too bright as that one. So again, I think I'm going to have to layer up. We're always thinking about how we can recreate these colours, aren't we, with pastel, with the best choice that we've got. Um, yeah, still not quite the right colour. I think I am going to go in with a bit of brown. Seems to be working better. I'm going in maybe, I mean, you could use purple would work quite well, I suppose, as well. On that. I'm just trying to, you know, make it a bit deeper to show that it's under this skin. But as I was saying, everything looks patchy at this point. And then the other colours in there, which are a bit more strawberry coloured, but not quite as strawberry coloured, bright as this one and this one, because it's still underneath. So we're definitely improvising a bit more. I'm just popping it in the, maybe in the lightest of places on the, in there. It doesn't look anything like a strawberry, does it, when it's like this? At all. What it will do once we start to get, some of these bubbly bits and things like that on there. So kind moving on with these little layers, again, it's then kind of going in and getting these other light colours. So, decide, do you use yellow? Do you use ochre? Do you use orange? Just have a little play. I'm going to go in with a, and this is kind of creating a little bit of the, it's almost like the reflection of the light, isn't it, in there? But it almost creates the fact that we know it's a strawberry as well. It will get more clear anyway that there's some strawberries under there once the other strawberries are in too. This on its own, we wouldn't maybe necessarily know what that was on its own. Yeah, and we're just kind of picking up these lighter areas over here. It's lovely how it builds up the glasses. And then if any that are in, and I'm not talking about the glass, but any more that are even brighter, then by all means, put a bit more pressure on there. You don't need to then blend them. And picks up a little bit of colour in there, really. Nice. So what have we got there? This lovely, got the dark rind, haven't we? At the bottom, right at the bottom here, that's kind of squashed against there. And it's almost like a bit ready fluid, but ready and call that one, isn't it? And pop that in. It's almost there where you get the reflection there against the glass before it turns nice and bright. I'm just going to soften that down a bit with a lighter, a slightly lighter orange. You can do that as well. And then we've got almost like a bit of a yellowy one in there, but it's quite warm. Might need to kind of use a cross between orange and yellow for this effect. There we go. And bring it all the way over here. All a bit kind of mushy, isn't it? The colours in here, which is great. So you can kind of do that and make it a bit kind of blendy and mushy. If you think there's some slightly darker patches in the glass or whatever, then just pop those in. So yes, we're continuing to kind of develop those colours before we've even thought about any of the other things going on in the glass. So I'll just take a pause and see how you're getting on there. Okay, so just keep building up these little layers until you get to where you want to be. But yeah, finding the colours is an interesting one. Sometimes our colours that we have may be too vibrant and we don't actually, we don't want them to be too vibrant. But it's finding like how we can overlay them. So for example here, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in with this dark colour within this orange peel here. Some I'm going to make darker, some I'm going to overlay and make a bit brighter. And then I'll just pop the little pithy bits between it. Yeah. Oh, so like what we're saying, I'm going to darken this off at the top a bit because it's quite dark up there. So yeah, it's just kind of working out where these different colours are. Yeah, it's quite dark underneath where the shadow of that strawberry is. Okay, so yes, we're just layering up these really. Again, I'm trying to look at where this pithy bit is over the top here. Isn't it? So some of these little bits in here, um, between the segments are darker, but down here they're lighter. So it just shows how the glass changes the appearance of them. So yeah, down by this pit as well, we get a bit of a shadow. And there's an ever so slightly darker one in there. Yeah. I'm just popping a few darker bits at the minute just around here. It helps create the shape, doesn't it? So I think we've said this before, it can help create the shape. So I can't really see any like bubbly bits on there, but there are more on here. So again, it's going for a colour that's going to stand out on the one that you've got. So you might have to go a bit lighter with that. I'm going for, it's a peach colour this. It looks a bit more like white. It's not quite as bright as white. Yeah, I'm just going to just just pop it on as you feel it should go on really. Just nice, put nice plenty of pressure on there. Um, and keep going. So I've got these lovely strawberry shapes, haven't we? And again, there's so many tones in there. So going a little deeper red again around this, kind of get quite a dark, a bit of a darker shadow even here. But it's keeping it soft enough, but creating, the colours that you can see. Okay, so well, look, isn't it, at what colours you can do there? Maybe go in with a much brighter one. This one's kind of almost a bit orangey, isn't it? There's orangey reds in there. But no, you can represent them how you want anyway. I'm running with a bit of a pencil here because mine's getting a bit tight now with the size of the paper. And again, we can just kind of build in some of those different colours where we've got some shadowy areas and bring those in. We're just kind of observing all of these colours, aren't we, really, and shapes and things. I'm finding the right colour for that centre, isn't it? Might have to layer some colours up here. I've gone in with a peach, which I know is too light, to be fair. But I'm just going to work some colours within that as well. That centre. Let's see if I've got a different peachy one. That's going to be too dull. Let's see. Let's make some oranges or something in between there. I'll try that. We'll be in between. Just to create this, what I think the texture of that would be under the water as well, because we've also got the bubbles pressed against it over the top. So that's another layer of things to think about in there, which is really interesting. So I'm going to fix that and then work over their bubbles. So it's, thinking what colour do you want to go in with those? Does it want to be bright white, or is it actually not? And it's kind of more of a like, a creamy colour. So just experiment and come up with an idea of what you think. You can get a few little bubbles, look, between here over the darks, which is interesting. So just build those up. It may be you have to go lighter over this middle section here. You can even kind of do some stippling. And then this one's interesting because there's all sorts going on with the shape as well. It's kind of like a bit refracted is the shape as it comes over the glass here. So I'm going to go in and get some of the shadowy areas in first, I think. Ones that are slightly darker. And then just helps us create a bit of that shape in there. You may even get some kind of pinks in there as well as for the lighter ones anyway. And then we're going in with the lovely colours that we can see for strawberries. Sometimes when you just can't, when you're seeing too many colours, it's good to just go in with one. And then you've made a start with it. And you can always add. The raw edge of the glass, that's fine. We'll go pop some more back in. Sometimes the tops are a little bit darker, aren't they? Where the greenery is. That's a little bit of greenery, kind of like maybe it's a bit of mint poking over the top there. So again, it's just thinking about how to get the seeds in underneath us, and then over the top of that, the bubbles, and then we'll get the glass over the top of it. So, just thing with the seeds is you get a few in, and then the eye automatically starts to recognize it's a strawberry. They're kind of long, aren't they? Long shape. So you don't need to get them perfect. If the rest of your picture's quite loose, and again, a lot of these will be poking through. They're a bit lighter near where the glass is there. So think about maybe making the seeds a little bit lighter where underneath where they're reflected. That's quite helpful as well. And that's a bit of a trick with our eye. And then you can go back to popping the seeds on. And some go one way, some go another, don't they? But yeah, you don't need to be really super precise with them. And of course, they're under the glass. We're forgetting that we're kind of bringing them out at the moment. Then we're going to pop them back under the glass shortly. Again, I'm kind of working out, are these bubbles or are they seeds? But I think they're bubbles, aren't they? So I'm going to go back in over the top. Put some more bubbles in this area here. The brain starts to build the picture. Starting to make sense of it. Just keep looking at those two shades and see what's going on there. Still underneath the glass. And then we've got the lovely cucumber, which is an interesting kind of a greeny yellow, isn't it? Really interesting colour that. Just see if you haven't got a greeny kind of beigey yellow at the centre, you can maybe layer up a couple of different colours, like a light green maybe. And a yellow, so I'm going with that. Or you can just put whatever you think on. Watch your fingers, that's what I've just done there. Let me get a little bit muddy. So let's have a look. And over with a bit of a light colour over that green as well. Let's see if I want to warm the colour up slightly. Let me just slightly, that's not too damp, just leaf. There we go. I'll get some of these yellows in over. Where you get the light bits. And just create that contrast and it'll make some fresh shades. And then I'm just going to get some of these little darker areas, slightly darker areas in here. It helps us to kind of get an idea what that might be, because it's not altogether clear, is it, what it is? So let's get some, a little bit of shape, it might help. And then we want to get some of the edge. I get a sense of the cucumber in there, on the top. Yeah, it's not altogether obvious, is it? We put a little bit of slight bit of warmth under that leaf as well with a slightly warmer yellow. Just keep observing all of these changes. You know, is there any darker? You know, do you need to go darker with your greens? Right, and again, you know, it's thinking, I can't actually see any bubbles on that bit, although a little bit there actually. So I've got a little bit of that. It's like yellow. Oh yeah, it goes over, doesn't it? Notice that. Really interesting. Mm. And then the leaves, you know, the two leaves here as well. Um, Going in with a base colour for your leaf and then deciding. You just follow the shapes around. Lots of lovely colours on these leaves, but again, if you go in with a mid-tone, it's easier because it's, you know, to go to find the tiny little patches of shadow on that leaf is a bit more tricky. So then you get that one in. Just observing. If we look at what all kind of shapes the leaves make, strawberry leaves are lovely. And as the season goes on, they kind of get those lovely twists and turns and, you know, crisp up and curl, don't they? And all sorts. It's quite nice to see. See what under there because I've missed that. I'm just going to put just the top of that leaf because I can't quite see. Just kind of overlaps that a bit. There we go. So we just, yeah, we can work in it. And that obviously goes over the top of the glass. So that's a good place to kind of get these ones in. And then that's our top layer. Then when we've got some detail, we'll get the detail on these leaves. And then we'll have a go at getting that glass into place so that we get a real sense of what's actually going on, you know, with all this fruit and everything. So I'm going to go in with a darker, much darker. That's not the right one though. Don't think I've got enough paper in. So let's see if I've got a pastel. Oh, that's better pastel. I'm just going with a pastel. So just following that lovely vein shape, and you can break it up a little bit as well. It doesn't have to be a thick line. The more natural, the better. So often it's fine to just kind of just have a little bit of a broken line with it. Let's get a bit right in there. And just some little squiggles. You might have a little bit, but you don't want it to be too linear. Maybe it's just a bit of a shadow because of the way the leaf is curling. And I'm going to take a few of these, just really light ones. Just get the main dark patches in there. And we can put on some of those lighter bits anyway. But you can shape the leaf just by making those lines, you know, kind of follow the curve round, or the curve round this way. Interestingly, when you look at where the little bit that goes in, you can see in the strawberry leaves that you get a little bit of a little shadowy dent there, which is really nice. When you put that in, you get a real sense of that the leaf having a bit of a cup in it, really. On one side of it, and then one side of it, which is happening here. One side's dark here, and one side is light, or the top's light. So not as much on this side. Looks it's over that edge. Interesting. So I'm going to do the other leaf as well. This is really crinkly. So a lot more to pop on there. But again, you know, keep it natural. So this is almost all in the shade there. Yeah, it's almost like a little bit like a cabbage, isn't it? You get these cabbages that really curl up and crinkle that one. And then within that, so if you have gone a bit mad, you want to pop a bit of light back, then just pop it in. You might think like I've just done there. I can see there's a big triangle of light there. I've just gone over, so I'm just going to pop that shape back in. And then we can go in with the other, you know, if there's any other kind of warm greens, that kind of makes the shape pop rather than just the whites. So let's see, what colour is this? Yeah, that might work quite nicely on the top. So here in the middle where I'm seeing almost some nice kind of like fuller leaves here, I'm just going to very gently tap them. Pop a little bit in here as well. Just really lightly popping those in. Over here. I'm not going to, you know, go mad, but I'm just going to get those kind of give it a bit more shape actually, because rather than just using the two colours and then a light one. So I'm going to put a bit in here as well, which just kind of makes it puff up a little bit. Because the warm colours kind of appear to come forwards. And then there's not much warmth on there. There's a couple of bits, like maybe here, where that's coming through. I'll put that on. Okay, so then I'm going to go in with these real light spots here, just the odd ones. I am actually going to go with white because they are very bright, those ones. Just on the little tips where you see them. So we've got to be really selective with that. There's a couple on here. Oh no. You can start to see them, can't you? And there's just the odd little side of the vein bit as well. So I'm just kind of line that up there in that vein. That way, that way, that way. That way, that way. Then what you can do, if there's any other thing, other little light bits, just go with a lighter green rather than a white. So there's some bits here, I think I was mentioning this, where you get a shadow and then you get a light the other side of it. So, you know, just use another light green to kind of get that shape in so it's not, you know, just putting the white everywhere. Same here, going in this much lighter, brighter colour there. And then again, sometimes you get that over the vein, over the top of the vein, you get that lighter one. Right, on the edge here, where it's in the light. And it's quite dark on the rest of that leaf actually. Yeah, so we're starting to get some nice shapes and things in. And if you did want to put any shadow back in, that's well. Sometimes we end up taking it out without realising. There we go. So we'll take a pause there before we go on to doing the actual glasswork that we've got. See how you're getting on with that. Okay, so just having a little look now at how we're going to just finish off these little touches that make it feel like a glass. So we're just observing where the light falls, and it may well be that there's another colour beside it. So this is got like an orangey colour going up here, and a few little lighter or yellowy orangey bits, and then the light here. So it's just looking at what comes next to it, because sometimes there's a shadow followed by a light section like this, light, dark, tiny bit of light on the top. So we'll start with the top because that's the bit that makes it feel more. So I'm going to go in with almost like a shadow over the top of the whole thing that comes out the side of the leaf. I know my leaf's probably not as big as it should be, but that's okay. Bring this shadow over the top. And then I'm going to put a really kind of peachy one over the top, so not a white one, but it's not quite as bright at the top. It's just it's almost, where's it on the peach? I don't know. Yeah. So there's just a tiny bit of light up there, just enough so that we know that we've got. There we go. So again, you can break the line up. You don't have to do a really, a really straight line. You can just catch a little bit of this. And then a really kind of pop of white under there. So I'm going to go in with, rather than just my pencil, I'm going to go in and put a bit more pressure with the edge of my pastel here, because we want this bit to pop more and be nice and strong. Because the patches of light are nice and strong, aren't they? They're quite angular sometimes as well. So depending on which picture that everyone does, they're quite angular. So I'm just going to soften just slightly underneath, very softly, or we'll end up with a muddy mess, pinky muddy mess. A bit more there, a bit more there. And then also where the strawberry is, just catching the light at the end here, because I'm going to pop that in. And then I'm going to follow this down a little bit, so it's almost a little bit of a light there. And then we have that very angular bit, don't we? Although it's kind of a few sections of light together, making it quite blocky. So you just make sure the edge of your pastel is clean, because it can start getting a bit muddy when you're doing this, because it's got colours underneath it. We're putting plenty of pressure there, bringing it down. It's a bit thinner there. So I'm breaking that line up a bit though, and then bringing it down here all the way over the top. It's where it's catching, catching, isn't it, really well on there, like that. So it may be kind of around in the middle of that section, you get something else that's a bit light. I'm going to go with a peachy colour and just ever so carefully around it, just create a little bit of a, it's almost like a little bit of a soft light there catching as well. So I'm adding that as well. And I've got my dark shadow down this side, and then there's a yellow one there I want to pop back in over the top of it. So it's how it behaves to create this glass-like finish. And again there, softer light around the outside. Now you can even kind of wiggle that if you want. And then we've got, again, a bit more of an angular light there coming over the top. And then again, this side, so I'm actually going to go in with that orangey one first. Get casting this. So just going kind of like that, just softly over. I don't know if it's even orangey, it might even be a bit more, it's difficult to see. Maybe it's a bit more earthy colour. Just kind of bringing that up, right the way up. There we go. And the same down here, like we've got a bit coming down here, but I'm just almost going to pop in right next to this one that we've just put in, this other shadowy colour coming over the top. Sometimes we don't put those ones in, and actually they're really effective when we've got this contrast of the shadow coming at the side of it. But that really does help. There's another shadowy one coming down here, so just going to put that in. And if it's light enough, you can just kind of like just softly bring it down. If you're wanting a bit more of a brighter colour, that's add that over the top. Again, bring it all the way up to the top of your glass, and then you know that it's coming all over the top of there as well. That's quite an interesting little tip there. And then there's this one left down here, which again is quite soft. So I'm just kind of wiggling that a bit without that very hard line there, but it's still bright down here. And then we get these other flips of light there. So I'm going to go in with a warm around there, just so we know. And then a little bit in here. So we know that this is going to be all the different lights in there. And there's a couple down here. When you start to look, it's like, oh yeah, there's another that's a bit with a warmer bright light there. But so all of these little pops of light, our brain starts to recognize that they are areas of light as well. And then within that, you can go, if there's anything that's really bright in it, just pop in a bit of a white one. If it is like white, there's another one here, look. So that's it really. I can see another line down there now, I'm saying, unless that is actually where it's probably just where I've made a mark. I'm probably seeing things now. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've got everything in that I want in there. So it's just in the bottom here, isn't it? So again, you know, within this bottom section, you can just go in with the different colours. And again, it's that contrast of having the dark ones. So I'm going to pop them dark ones in now. Getting those dark ones in. I'll grab a little brown. And just making those shapes, exactly what you can see there, look. Slightly warmer one actually at the top there. Almost a bit green or something in there, you know. And then I've got a darker section in there as well that I'm seeing there. And again here. So you just start to see all of these really interesting shades and shapes. And again, then between here, you know, I mean, I'm going to go in with the peachy one because it's not quite as bright as that. Here, I'm going to go in with this diffused bit of light there. I'm going to bring that all the way down over the top. And that one all the way down. And then this one, just going to pop this section back in here. You can kind of add what you can see then from there on in. There's any big diffused bits as well. And then obviously there's a casting of shadow underneath here, which I haven't got in yet, but quite a glowy one, isn't it? It's quite brown under there. And then those shadows on the table will help as well. So, I mean, you literally go in with the colours that you think it's casting, like, you know, dark grey, whatever, brown on that table. Yeah. And then you can add, you know, add some extra light if you want to down there. You know, where that kind of light comes out and it's a bit soft, diffused there over that peachy. It's really interesting how it all works, to be honest. I find it quite fascinating. You know, and if you've gone over a little bit somewhere you didn't want to, then just pop that back in. Just put the other colour in or something. No problem to do that at all. Yeah, just decide whether there's any shadow under there as well. And again, you know, any soft light over there. Yeah. That's it really. It's just kind of working your way through all the colours and layers, and just creating this impression. I mean, you can always go back and look at where you are, but I mean, each step along the journey when we do things like this is just a great start to have a go and have a nice, a bit of a play and see what happens really. And the next time you do glasses or strawberries or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that about the shape or this or whatever. So it just gets easier really. Then I'm going to bring that a little bit of this in side to side. You sometimes get a side to side, bit of a diffused shape, don't you, over there? So I hope that was really helpful, and you've really enjoyed capturing the light in summer cocktails.